Welcome to the Valareso Capital community, where we discuss the stock market and trading strategies to become a consistently profitable trader and investor. Hey traders, welcome back to Valareso Capital. On today's video, we're going to go through the weekly watch list, and we're also going to take a look at the market update. A crazy week, the one that we had. I was actually not expecting to see a pullback in the markets. I was actually expecting, if you saw last week's video, I was actually expecting for a move and a continuation higher in the markets. Of course, we didn't get that, and now we're getting a pullback, a continuation of the pullback that we saw during these last couple of months, and now we're starting to test another level of possible resistance in the SPX. So we're going to cover the SPX, but I also want to cover the VIX, because I do think that the VIX is already trading at some levels that we haven't been trading during the last couple of months. So I think that's something really important to take attention. And then of course we're going to take a look at some setups. I don't think that there's much to do, because the market is already extended to the downside. So even if you start to build some bearish exposure right now, I do think that it's better to wait for a little bit of a rally into resistance. And then if you're looking to get some bullish exposure, well, the market is not on your side, because the SPX is clearly on a downtrend. So we're going to cover those things. And then of course I do also want to cover the NASDAQ composite, because I do think that the NASDAQ composite is also bringing some clarity as to where we could expect some levels of support. Remember guys that this video is for informational purposes only. It's based just on my personal opinion and is not financial advice. And if at any point of this video, guys, you find any value on the information, remember to subscribe to the channel. So let's jump here. Let me make myself a little bit smaller, and let's jump here into the chart of the SPX. This is going to be the first chart that we're going to cover. And what is actually interesting is that we were expecting for some continuation to the upside. Let me first cover some changes that I make here in my screen. First of all, I have all my candles black, but I'm keeping the core of my system, which is the 21 exponential moving average. I'm just keeping my candles black. It's going to be easier to understand the charts. And then another change that I made, and this is something that I spent a lot of time working during this weekend, I made some changes to the momentum indicator that I have on the bottom. If you remember right, I had two indicators on the bottom, and now I only have one. So this one is something that I have been working for a long time. I spent basically the entire day of Friday and Thursday and a little bit of today's morning working on this, making some changes, making some adjustments, and I really like what I came here for. So I will try to explain this in a future video, but basically this is giving me some of the short-term momentum and also some of the kind of the intermediate to a little bit of a longer term momentum. That's going to be the red EMA that you see here. And it's actually pretty interesting, because the changes that I make here that I made to the indicator and in the coding and everything gives me more clarity into what is actually the path of least resistance. I don't know if you guys remember, but I was actually, and let me just change the color of my drawing tools. I was actually looking for a continuation higher when we were trading at this level right here. And right now that I see the changes that I make in my coding, where we were actually really at resistance. So it was not surprised that we got rejected, and that's exactly what's happening right now. I was expecting for a little bit of a continuation higher, perhaps into 4,500, but the intermediate to long-term resistance was at that level. So it's actually pretty interesting that actually this move was not a surprise based on the new coding that I have in my momentum indicator. So this is something that I continue to work on, but it's something really interesting, and it's going to help me to always be on the path of least resistance, especially when the market seems that it wants to turn, but actually the probability of it turning is not pretty high. So that's something that I will cover on some future videos, but those are some of the changes that I made, and it's actually pretty interesting. It's actually pretty amazing. But of course, the core of my system continues to be the same. I'm just making a little bit of adjustments in the coding. That way I have a better tool to navigate the market because we want to continue to adapt. So let's continue here with the SPX. Let's don't waste any more time. So what is actually what is going to be the roadmap that we're going to build for next week? Actually, the roadmap is going to be pretty easy. First of all, it's not engaged in any long positions as long as we continue to be in a bearish environment. Now, is it a good idea to start building some bearish exposure right here at the 200 daily moving average of the SPX? I would say no. Now, if we happen to get a little bit of a snapback rally, because this has been basically 3 days selling, pretty strong selling to the downside. If we happen to get any snapback rally into these anchor VWAPs that we have right here, something like this perhaps, right into these anchor VWAPs, then perhaps shorting this to retest this breakout level a little bit below that 4,200 level, I think that path will make sense. So it will be basically waiting for a little bit of a snapback rally and then looking for a continuation to the downside, perhaps to 4,200, I think more like 4,150. That will be kind of the level that I will expect the SPX to go. Selling continues to be very strong, guys, and I don't see any clue or any real reason why it should change. So that would be kind of the path for the SPX. And then if we take a look at the NASDAQ composite, I think that the NASDAQ composite has a really interesting level to the downside as a target. Let me just get this. I do have another NASDAQ composite ticker that, here we go. So this one, and you can see that I have an alert right here. Let me just take this out. So this one right here is looking a little bit more clear, right? You can see right here that we rally into that declining 50 daily moving average. You can see that we actually have resistance in my indicator, which is actually pretty awesome. And now this is going to be the target right here. That's going to be the 200 daily moving average for the NASDAQ composite. The path of least resistance continue to be to the downside. We continue to trade below a declining 50, below a declining 21 exponential moving average wave, and then of course sell signals in my indicator. So it will make sense that we will continue to the downside somewhere around 12,800. I think that will be a nice target to the downside, and that probably will be a nice level in which we probably see a little bit of basing, right? A little bit of basing and then perhaps a breakout and a continuation to the upside. Remember that November continues to be a very bullish month, but for now, the path of least resistance, at least on what we have led of October, continues to be to the downside, and this will be a really amazing target for the NASDAQ composite. So keep that level in mind, have some alerts, and now let's take a look at the VIX. So remember, guys, that in some videos that I was talking about in last week, I was talking about how important is to think about the VIX as a kind of as a block, right, in which you have levels. You can see that here 15 was a support level, and we were talking about 20 being a high probability level of resistance. Of course, now you can see that didn't happen. And now we are starting to break above this level of resistance. You can see that the VIX closed at 21.70, which is something that it hasn't done, right? It hasn't done in the last couple of months. So my expectation will be that right now that we broke above that level of 20, we're probably ready to test the next level of high probability resistance, which would be 25. So as of now, this is suggesting a little bit more downside in the markets and a little bit more upside in the VIX. So downside in the markets, upside in the VIX, a little bit more fear coming into the market. So it will make sense to have the VIX coming into that 25 level. I don't see anything that suggests a different kind of move, right? You can see right here that we have the clear breakout. We also have the squeeze, and then of course momentum continue to be bullish. You can see the green light, the green EMA on my charts. So my expectation is that the VIX will just continue higher. So basically, in summary, guys, the roadmap for next week is a continuation to the downside. If we happen to be lucky, then perhaps we're gonna get a little bit of upside in the SPX, and then perhaps an opportunity to short out those anchor VWAPs that we mentioned, and then looking for a continuation to the downside somewhere around 4,150 in the SPX and that 200 daily moving average on the NASDAQ composite. Do I have anything else to show you? Not much, to be honest. Just some trades that I made last week. They didn't work, but it's actually pretty amazing to see that I was actually long Apple. I was trying to build my position around this 21 exponential, but you can see right here that my indicator was suggesting that we were at resistance, right? My indicator was like nope, that was resistance, nope, this is resistance, and now we're getting the rejection, which is actually pretty amazing. And then I also have a position in super micro computers. We were talking about this last week, and you can see right here that my indicator was telling me this is a downtrend. Even though we had a huge short covering rally, this is continued to be a downtrend, and now you're seeing that super micro computers continue to break to the downside. And then all the other trades that I had also have that kind of same pattern, which is actually pretty amazing. So I'm actually really excited of what's to come in the market. Some bearish setups for next week. I'm thinking about Micron Technology, and the reason I'm thinking about this one is because we have a squeeze. Let me just grab my drawing tools. We have a squeeze right here, and then of course momentum is starting to break to the downside. I like this one if we happen to get that rally in the SPX, and we happen to get Micron Technology into that declining 21 exponential moving average, then we will have a high probability short right into that 200 daily moving average. That's one that I'm looking at. If we just happen to sell completely and we just happen to go to 4,150 in the SPX and to the 200 daily moving average on the NASDAQ composite, then I do have some ideas of some bullish setups that we might take a look at. So let's just cover those really quickly here. First one is going to be PDD, and I really like PDD holdings here, because it has been holding pretty well, right? You can see that we are at the 21 exponential moving average. Momentum continues to suggest that this is probably going to hold, but perhaps waiting for the market, if we happen to get PDD into that anchor VWAP from earnings, then perhaps that's going to be the level to grab some exposure. If you also take a look at some of these cybersecurity names, right? We have SRWD and we also have CS. These ones also look interesting, perhaps a little bit more downside, right into this level of, perhaps into this breakout level of CRWD. Then perhaps that will bring us a nice low risk entry for these names. And then of course we have Scalar here. We're already at support at this anchor VWAP from earnings, but if the market continues to sell, then I think that we at least are going to test that 50 daily moving average. So more patience is needed in these names. And I also have Lululemon, a little bit more of a, not as clean as the other names, but of course you can see that we had this huge gap to the upside. And now let's see if we can build right somewhere around this 50 daily moving average. But that's just thinking if we happen to find support at those high probability levels in the SPX and also in the NASDAQ composite. Otherwise, let's just see what happens. If we happen to get that rally in the markets, then perhaps just shorting the SPX or the QQQs is going to be an easier way to make some money. You can also take a look at MU, which is the setup that I just recently shared with you guys. So that's basically going to be it for the market. I do think that we are going to probably continue to the downside, is what my indicators are suggesting, and also price action. So thank you so much guys for watching. I will see you on future videos. Have an amazing weekend. Take care and bye bye.